The conference room on the 42nd floor had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city, but Alexander Hartwell wasn't looking at the view. He sat at the head of the long glass table, surrounded by lawyers and accountants and board members, all of them wearing expressions that ranged from sympathetic to frustrated. The late morning sun streamed in through those windows, but it might as well have been midnight for all the hope Alex felt. He was 34 years old, with dark hair styled, back and the kind of classic features that had once graced Business magazine covers when Hartwell Industries was on the rise. He wore a charcoal gray suit that fit perfectly, a white shirt and a gray tie, all chosen by habit rather than thought that morning. His briefcase sat on the table beside him, expensive leather that had been a gift from his father before the old man passed away 3 years ago. That briefcase felt like a weight now, a reminder of everything Alex was about to lose. "Mr. Hartwell," the lead attorney said, sliding a document across the glass table. "I know this is difficult, but we've exhausted every option. The bankruptcy filing is our only path forward. If you'll just sign here, we can begin the process." Alex stared at the papers without really seeing them. Chapter 11, Bankruptcy. The legal dissolution of everything his father and grandfather had built. Hartwell Industries had been a manufacturing company for 3 generations, making precision components for aerospace and medical equipment. They'd employed over 2,000 people across 5 states. They'd been respected, solid, successful. And then Alex had made a series of decisions that, in hindsight, looked like arrogance. He'd expanded too quickly, taking on debt to modernize facilities and invest in new technology. He'd made a bet on a government contract that hadn't materialized. And then the market had shifted. Clients had delayed orders. And suddenly, the company was drowning in obligations it couldn't meet. For the past 18 months, Alex had been fighting to save the company. He'd cut his own salary to nothing. He'd sold his apartment and moved back into his childhood home that he couldn't bring himself to part with. He'd worked 100-hour weeks, trying every strategy he could think of. But the numbers didn't lie. They were out of options and out of time. "Sir?" the attorney prompted gently. Alex picked up the expensive pen someone had placed beside the document. His hand was steady, which surprised him. He'd thought he'd be shaking, but instead he just felt numb. 2,000 people were going to lose their jobs. The Hartwell name would become synonymous with failure, and his father's legacy would end with his son's signature on bankruptcy papers. He'd just touched pen to paper when he heard it. A small voice, clear as a bell in the somber room. "Sir, you missed this number." Everyone turned to look. Standing in the doorway of the conference room was a little girl, maybe 5 years old, with blonde curls pulled up into 2 small buns on either side of her head. She wore a pink dress with white trim and small white shoes, and she looked completely out of place among the suited executives and serious faces. But what was most startling was that she was holding what appeared to be a financial spreadsheet, one of the dozens of documents that had been printed for today's meeting. "How did she get in here?" someone demanded. Alex recognized her then. This was Charlotte, the daughter of his executive assistant, Margaret. Margaret was a single mother who'd worked for Hartwell Industries for 15 years, and occasionally, when childcare fell through, she'd bring Charlotte to the office. The little girl would play quietly in Margaret's office, coloring or looking at books. Alex had seen her a few times, always polite and well-behaved. But what was she doing here, in this meeting, holding a financial document? Margaret appeared in the doorway behind her daughter, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Mr. Hartwell, I'm so sorry." "Charlotte, come back here right now. You know you're not supposed to—" "Wait," Alex said, holding up a hand. Something about the certainty in the child's voice had caught his attention. He looked at Charlotte, who stood her ground with the fearlessness only a 5-year-old could have. "Charlotte, what did you say about a number?" Charlotte walked into the room, navigating between the chairs with careful steps, and held up the spreadsheet. "This number here," she said, pointing with a small finger. "It's wrong." "You added it wrong?" One of the accountants made a dismissive sound. "Mr. Hartwell, with all due respect, we don't have time for—" "Show me," Alex said to Charlotte, ignoring the accountant. He gestured to the chair beside him, and Charlotte climbed up onto it, kneeling so she could see over the table. She laid the spreadsheet flat and pointed to a column of numbers. "See? This says 78 million, but that's not right." If you add these numbers here, her finger traced down a column, it should be 78,000. Someone put too many zeros. The room went very quiet. Alex leaned over to look at where Charlotte was pointing, and his heart began to beat faster. She was right. The number she was indicating was in a section detailing outstanding accounts, receivable, money that clients owed to Hartwell Industries. And if she was correct, if that really should be 78,000 instead of 78 million, then that's impossible, the lead accountant said, standing up and moving around the table. We've checked these numbers a dozen times. But Alex was already pulling his laptop closer, opening the master spreadsheet that fed into all their financial projections. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, navigating to the accounts receivable ledger. And there it was. A data entry error from 3 months ago, one number transposed, turning thousands into millions. The error had cascaded through every subsequent calculation, making their receivables look massively inflated and their cash flow look far worse than it actually was. "Oh my God," Alex breathed. He looked up at his team, hardly daring to believe what he was seeing. "She's right. This number is wrong. It's been wrong for 3 months." Chaos erupted in the conference room. Accountants crowded around the laptop, checking and rechecking. The CFO was already on her phone, pulling up backup files. Margaret stood frozen in the doorway, one hand over her mouth, as Charlotte sat calmly in the chair beside Alex, swinging her small legs and looking pleased with herself. "How did you find this?" Alex asked her, his voice full of wonder. Charlotte shrugged. "I saw the papers on Miss Margaret's desk. They had lots of numbers, and I like numbers. I was doing the addition in my head while I waited for Mommy to finish working, and that one didn't match. I told Mommy, but she said not to bother you because you were in an important meeting. But you came anyway," Alex said. "You looked sad through the window," Charlotte said simply. "And the number was wrong. I thought you should know." Over the next 2 hours, as the team worked feverishly to verify and recalculate everything, the full picture emerged. The error had originated with a new accounting software system they'd implemented months ago. A single incorrect entry, combined with a formatting glitch, had created a snowball effect. Their actual financial position, while still challenging, was nowhere near as catastrophic as they'd believed. "We're not out of the woods," the CFO told Alex. "We still need to restructure some debt and negotiate with creditors. But Mr. Hartwell, we're not bankrupt. Not even close. With the correct numbers, we can secure bridge financing. We can survive this." Alex felt like he could breathe for the first time in months. He looked around the conference room at his team, saw the relief and cautious hope on their faces, and then his eyes found Charlotte. She'd gotten down from the chair and was back with her mother, holding Margaret's hand. "Charlotte," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Come here for a second, please." The little girl approached him, and Alex crouched down so he was at her eye level, the way he'd seen parents do with their children. "You just saved this company," he told her. "Do you know what that means? 2,000 people get to keep their jobs because you looked at some numbers and noticed something that all the adults in the room missed. You're a hero." Charlotte considered this seriously. "Will Miss Margaret still have her job too?" "Yes," Alex said, and he felt tears threatening for the first time that day. "Your mom will definitely still have her job." "Good," Charlotte said. She was worried about that. "She didn't think I knew, but I heard her on the phone with Grandma last night. She was crying." Alex looked up at Margaret, saw the tears streaming down her face now, and understood. Margaret, like everyone else in the company, had been terrified about what bankruptcy would mean for her family, and this remarkable child had somehow sensed that and had done something about it. "Charlotte," Alex said, "how did you know how to add all those numbers? That's pretty complicated math for someone your age." "I just like numbers," Charlotte said. "They make sense. They always work the same way. My teacher says I'm good at math." "Your teacher is right," Alex said. "You're very good at math. Better than some of our accountants, apparently." That got a laugh from the room, breaking the tension. Charlotte beamed at the praise. Over the following weeks, as Hartwell Industries worked to correct their financial records and restructure their obligations, Alex couldn't stop thinking about Charlotte. He did some research and learned that she attended a public school that was struggling with funding cuts. He discovered that her teacher had been trying to get her into gifted programs, but Margaret couldn't afford the additional costs or the transportation to schools that were further away. Alex made some calls. He established a scholarship fund, anonymously at first, that would cover Charlotte's education from kindergarten through college, including any specialized programs for gifted students. He reached out to the local school district and arranged for funding for their math and science programs with Charlotte's school as the pilot site. But more than that,